Welcome to Fantasy Football Hub. Today I'm joined by FPLHeisenberg to preview Game Week 31. A big game week coming up with a lot of decisions and a lot of injuries. Where's my friend? How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. And I only got a minor green arrow, but I think I'm going to do a little bit of bragging today, as I like to do on these videos.
Okay, we're going to go straight into it because possibly one of the funniest comments that I've personally ever seen. Well, was it a tweet or was it a comment? It was a comment on the video, was it?
It was a tweet, yeah. It was a tweet, yeah.
You know, I'm going to bring this up straight away because, guys, you may not know, I've been doing YouTube myself for a long time. It's my full-time job. I've got another channel. I've been doing it for over 4 years. And what I've got on screen right now is possibly one of the funniest comments or just general piece of criticism that I've ever seen. Now, I'm just going to read this out, Wes, because a little bit of context. We did a video whenever you use your bench boost, not too long ago, about a week or so ago. And it was going very well for you at first, right?
Yeah.
Well, it turned out really well nonetheless.
I would like to say.
Well, there you go. No, yeah, exactly. Come on, mate. Keep it calm. The video's just started. But yeah, the whole point was some people were slightly annoyed that you were bragging. That's up for debate about doing so well on the bench boost when you had in fact incurred a minus 16 point hit. So I'll just read this out. I couldn't stand watching this video to the fullest. The guy literally tried to brag about his bench boost when he took a minus 16. Put some context, only 5 players returned out of his starting 11, so you have to look at your team as a whole as well. Be more humble. Now, I want to get your immediate thoughts on that.
It was hilarious when I first saw it, because I wasn't tagged in it. I got sent it on WhatsApp, and someone said they could have tagged you with the laugh emoji, and then I looked at it, I was cracking up, so obviously I quote retweeted it. But my immediate reaction was, I think by the end of the game week, a lot more of my players had returned. The minus 16 was spoken about in depth. This guy said he didn't watch till the end. We spoke about that a lot. I think I even tried to speak about it, but you said I'll save that till the end. And what else?
I wanted people to tweet this. That was the thing. This was what I wanted.
Yeah. And I don't think I ever bragged at any point. You asked me about the bench boost, so we spoke about it. It was going well. So if it was going bad, I'd equally say, I've had a bad bench boost. I've messed up. But I've messed up plenty of times with other decisions this season. But bench boost wasn't one of them.
I've got to say, with some respect, I mean, it is a funny comment, but it is kind of true. You got to put in some context. If only 5 players returned out of the starting 11, then it does take away from the bench boost a little bit. But also, the players on your bench. Well, how I like to play it, the bench boost, that is I normally put the players on the bench that I would have put on the bench in a normal game, right? Just so then you really know the value of the chips. So if you're doing that, then the 11 doesn't matter as much, I would say.
Yeah, and also when you're building for a bench boost, it's never I wouldn't have those 15 players in my squad unless I knew I was bench boosting. So it is all relative to the whole squad as well. But yeah, I think it was partway through the game week as well.
Yeah,
I think it was a talking point, wasn't it? We were talking about bench boost and the fact that I think I had a goal from Pinnock on there that was quite lucky at the time in that first game.
No, skill. You got to brag about that, mate. You got to brag about it.
Steele got an assist as well, and obviously I got in the Brighton keeper because he's a very creative goalkeeper. So yeah, it was going well. But yeah, there were some valid points in the tweet. I enjoyed it.
I would say, I think it is a fair tweet. I would disagree with the fact that you were bragging, but overall, I mean, criticism is always good, and it did make us laugh. So fair play, FPL Atoms. All right then, let's have a look back at your team overall. Obviously, the bench boost was a raging success, but will there be as much bragging from last game week?
No, maybe I'd have bragged more if Salah would have converted his penalty. I got a very small green, I think, in the end. I think I went from 124k to 117k, so can't grumble overall. Tony transfer out was quite fortunate. You know, he never misses penalties, then he misses one. Man. So I know you kept him there, so you got quite unlucky with that one.
Well, you have Salah.
I really rate. Say again, yeah, Salah. Yeah, Salah was unfortunate, but I think with Tony, he never misses penalties. So when you get I've had Mitrovic a few times this season, but I always knew there was a risk because his penalties weren't very good. Like even the ones he was scoring were like squirming through the keeper's arms and stuff. Whereas with Tony, he's always very good. Pope managed to figure him out. Finally, the only goalkeeper who's managed to do so. But yeah, obviously that's the thing with FPL. Like I could get really annoyed about the Salah penalty miss because that cost me probably like 10 points because obviously
Yeah.
No 5 points for scoring the goal, no 3 bonus that he would have got for bagging a brace, and obviously the -2 itself for missing the penalty. It was a big, big swing, especially when Salah's actually a differential right now. Normally he's in everyone's teams, isn't he? Right now he's not.
Oh, wow. That is
So
a massive
yeah,
swing. Yeah.
yeah, massive swing. But like I said, I took out Tony in a week. He missed a penalty and brought in Haaland, who did well, and I captained him. I could have maybe held off and captained. I'd have probably ended up captaining Watkins, maybe. I took out Saka a couple of game weeks ago, and he's blanked in a couple of game
Yeah.
weeks.
Nice move.
But also got, there's what I'm trying to get at is I've been lucky by taking out someone like Saka. Hasn't gone well for me taking out Martinelli. Brought in Luke Shaw, who should have got me a couple of clean sheets, but obviously, because obviously United have got 2 clean sheets in a row, but he got injured, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, swings and roundabouts. And that's how I was obviously annoyed about Salah missing the penalty. But then, after the game, just sort of got over it and put it into context and just was happy with the minor green arrow in the end.
Haaland back in as well, captained, really nice. I do want to say fair play on benching Fernandes as well, because in retrospect, he did play well, but he was deeper as you expected him to be. And Mitoma was so unlucky not to get any returns. More unlucky, I would say, than Fernandes, although Fernandes did create a lot of chances still.
Absolutely. And so I've got obviously, and it's a problem for next week as well, my benching dilemma. But obviously, off the back of a bench boost, I had this benching dilemma this week. And my rationale for starting, it was Isaac versus Bruno, because Isaac was maybe a bit of a rotation risk with Wilson. So I kind of got that slightly right. Points wise, I only made 2 points on it. But yeah, with Bruno, it's a really weird one. I feel really justified and really happy with my decision based on. I was telling people on WhatsApp all week that he was going to be playing deeper. There's no Casemiro, there's no Eriksen, but from game week 31 onwards, those 2 players will both be back. Eriksen and Casemiro, he'll definitely be further forward. Blah blah blah. So I called that right. That was correct, but I got lucky the fact he didn't return anything because Everton played so high. Bruno was just creating chances from deep, clipping the balls over the top to Rashford and Anthony, and a few other chances, a couple of shots as well. I think there was a header, wasn't there, in the area that was quite a good chance. So yeah, I was quite fortunate that despite predicting he would play deeper, he was actually quite effective from that position, and he did get forward occasionally, and he did create from deep. So yeah, people who started Bruno actually got a bit unlucky. People who captained Rashford possibly got a bit unlucky as well. So again, like I said, the swings and roundabouts there, I kind of got lucky with the Bruno benching, but at least I was always happy with my rationale. If he'd have scored points from deep, then so be it. I said when benching, I said, look, I can't bench. I don't want to bench anyone else. I'm not benching Bruno because I think he's a terrible asset, but he's got some things working against him because he was deeper at that point. But of course, if he grabs an assist and then you get a late on penalty, he's going to get a double-digit return, isn't he? So it could have definitely gone against me.
Yeah, almost 1 goal involvement expected in that game. Couple of big chances created, loads of key passes, 6 key passes. Wow. But as you say, the rationale was there, and you can't really fault that. He's just a great player, probably from anywhere on the pitch. Although I would say that he hasn't been as effective in previous games in that position. It was a bit of a shock that he was as effective in that role. So yeah, very justified decision.
Yeah, I think Everton made it quite easy for United and Bruno. So yeah, that was not. I was kind of expecting as well. So I think my prediction that got wrong was that Everton would actually play better than what they did and actually make it. I thought Dyche would make it harder for Man United than what he did. I wasn't necessarily expecting a clean sheet for Everton, but I didn't think they'd be cut open quite as easily as they were.
It's true. They have been extremely poor away from home, which you wouldn't expect from a Dyche team, averaging over 2 goals expected against, I think, which is pretty incredible. Okay, then. That's your team from last week. Let's move on now to the upcoming game week, because a lot of issues here. Well, not a lot of issues, but one main issue in Marcus Rashford. I've got your team up on screen on the My Team tool, and it looks pretty good with Rashford on the bench. So let me know your thinking on Marcus Rashford right away.
Yeah. So if I wasn't free hitting next week, I might have saved a transfer, but you can't save a transfer before the week you free hit. So there's no value in saving the transfer. So it's like, right, okay, I want to do something to try and maximize my points in the short term. So this week, as well as building for future double game weeks. And I kind of wanted to not give myself the benching headache and just bench Rashford and then just play my other attackers, forwards and midfielders. But I thought that's a bit of a coward's way out. So I've done the transfer. I've bought in Grealish for Rashford.
Already done it?
Yeah, I did it last night before the price rise. And I will be starting, so I'll start Grealish, but then I've got a bit of a benching headache in terms of, who do I who do I now bench? It would have been an easy decision if I'd have just kept Rashford about who to bench. But now it's not necessarily Grealish's points versus Rashford's blank. It's
No.
Grealish's points versus whoever I decide to now bench out of my front eight. So,
Yeah.
and again, last week I played both Brighton attackers and they were both unlucky. Well, March got some points. Matoma could have got a lot more, fouled for a penalty, scored a goal, of course, and then got ruled out. So, and Chelsea aren't the best team in the world right now, of course. So, apologies, Jack. But
Well, I watched us play very, very well last night. We created so many chances and definitely deserved to score in the last 4 games.
yeah,
We are
Mount
so
Mount had
bad.
a chance. Mount had a chance.
Yeah,
Late
he did
on,
have a
didn't he?
chance.
But it was good luck.
Genuinely, we did actually have like 1 or 2 chances, but
Yeah,
we got ripped apart.
yeah. So what my thinking there is, I don't really want to bench both either Brighton asset against Chelsea. That is an option though. One of those two. Another option is maybe benching Isaac away against a decent Villa side. Again, don't really want to do that. He got me the 5 points. Excuse me, last week. Again, I kind of wanted a little bit more for that. He got his goal, and in that type of game, low scoring, and there was a penalty in this for Tony, wasn't there? So he was never really going to get the bonus. So I was hoping Isaac would get the bonus, but
he looks red hot as well. To be fair, he looks really sharp.
Yeah, so exactly. So I really like Isaac, and again, Villa, as well as they're playing, I don't fear that fixture from an Isaac point of view, but I have to bench someone. Do I bench Bruno again? But it's against Notts Forest away this week. Maybe he'll retire because of Europe or something. I don't know. But yes, I think my bench this week will maybe be Bruno, maybe one of the Brighton mids, maybe Isaac. Can I really bench, Isaac? All my forwards, obviously I'm not benching Haaland or Grealish. So my 2 forwards are the forwards, Isaac and Watkins, are both in great form as well. Especially Watkins has been in amazing form for, I want to say, like 10 game weeks now.
Oh yeah, since the World Cup, really.
Yeah, yeah.
He's been great.
So how do I bench him in a home fixture as well? Well, to be fair, Watkins has actually been doing really well away from home as well. But my point is, I do have a massive benching headache. I don't want to bench Salah, obviously, against Leeds, scored last game week. Might be off penalties now, but even still, you don't really ever want to bench Salah. And even though Salah's not having his best season ever, but he's still right up there in terms of overall points from midfielders. He's a very effective FPL asset one way or another. So, and Leeds are pretty poor, aren't they? They shipped 5 against Palace last week. So my point I'm trying to guess at is, who do I actually bench?
And he had one of his most statistically one of his best games against Arsenal in terms of shots, touch in the box, XG, all that stuff. Obviously missed the penalty, but still had a really good game overall. Really
frustrating when he had that one that was sort of curling towards the top corner at the end as well. So yeah, it was a painful watch having Salah last week. But then I thought after the game, if someone, before the game against Arsenal, if someone had said to me he'd have got a 5 points or just 1 assist, for example, I'd have kind of taken it because it'd have wiped out that Arsenal clean sheet, and it would have been a return against top of the league. Getting an assist wouldn't have been too bad. But obviously, in the context of actually watching the game, you just know that he's dodged a haul when he's actually a differential. And that was one of the purposes of the -16 was to jump on these sort of players early before maybe everyone jumps on ahead of Salah's double in 34. But I can't be greedy. But yeah, anyway, who to bench? I don't know. It's got to be I think it's got to be Bruno, maybe Isaac, maybe a Brighton mid. But I need to try and find a reason. Maybe if Bruno plays 90 tonight and then Ten Hag maybe hints at resting some players, I don't know.
You can't bench Bruno against Forest away, surely. For me, it would it would either be Isak or a Brighton mid, and then it's a 50-50 because I presume you prefer Matoma to March. I would go March or Isaac, and I'd probably go March. But that's very close. That would be my personal decision. I think Bruno has full potential. Also, he's just a 90-minute man. He loves play. He loves the game. He's got great legs.
He has, and this is why it's so tough, because I agree. The March versus Matoma isn't that easy because I think March has been dodging points. March obviously got the points last game week. Matoma, over the course of maybe 5 or 6 weeks, has got much more, of course. I feel like March is such a great asset as well. So I'm really conflicted. Maybe because I do have that Brighton double up in midfield, maybe benching one of them is the best option, because then at least I've got still some Brighton attacking coverage for that game should they get some returns. But yeah, I am finding it really difficult to decide. Last week was a tough decision and got it just about right with a bit of luck. So yeah, I don't know what to do this week.
Well, I'm going to have to push you for an answer as Grealish is all ready to come on here. So, say the deadline is in 5 minutes. What are you doing?
Do put Bruno on the bench for now. Like I
Wow.
said, it's
That is
not it's not
unbelievable.
it's not a final decision. It's not a final decision.
Wow. Would
But
he be, where
that's
would he be on the bench? Behind Pinnock? The goal scoring machine?
yeah, Pinnock is a goal scorer machine.
That's the
I can't believe
question.
you're not. You should be grilling me for benching Pinnock.
That's actually
Um,
fair. Chevy Pinnock? Let's actually talk about that. Is that a
oh yes,
decision?
well, defensively there is we haven't spoken about the Luke Shaw issue. I think
Yeah.
from what we're gathering between us, Jack, when we spoke about this before coming on air, that he's maybe getting close to being back. He's not going to be featuring in the European game tonight, I don't believe.
No.
But Ten Hag, for the last comments I saw from Ten Hag was something like that. Um, Luke Shaw's is a short-term ish injury, so I'm free hitting in 32. So yeah, I'll possibly start Luke Shaw this week with the expectation of him missing out, and then letting my first sub come in. And at the minute, my preference is to start Shah over Pinnock. I like Shah's attacking potential as well, and I like Shah's Newcastle's defensive numbers are really good as well. So
Yeah.
I've got Raya in goal for Brentford. Obviously, I've got Trippier as well, so I'll be doubling up on one defense. But I kind of don't see the if I go for Shah, I don't see it as actually all eggs in the Newcastle clean sheet basket because everyone's got Trippier anyway.
This is
So
it.
it's
This
only
is
the
really
one clean sheet.
important. Yeah. Really
Yeah,
important point.
it's not a true. I've not truly got Newcastle double defense. If that makes sense, everyone's got one. I've just got one extra. Whereas if I went for the double Brentford, that would be all eggs in the Brentford basket. So, um, yeah, I guess I could start Steele away at Chelsea and then start Pinnock instead of Shah. But I do like Shah from an attacking point of view as well. He got the assist against West Ham, against was it against Man United or some team at home anyway? I can't remember the game. It was quite recent though, but and I had Shah in my team, I think, for the bench boost, and he kept getting chances. One really late on inside the box, and he just put it over. And another,
Yeah.
I think, a long range effort as well. So I do like him. And we know historically Shah is all like I think he takes some free kicks that are like close to the edge of the box where Trippier can't quite get it up and over. He'll just sort of smash it. So yeah, I like Shah is what I'm trying to get at. So I think I will prefer Shah over Pinnock, and then I'll start Raya. Um, and yeah, I'll expect Luke Shaw to miss out, I guess. But maybe I'll wait till close to the deadline and see if there's some more comments on Luke Shaw. Maybe Tanark says he's ready or something. I don't know. I think that's unlikely. But like I said, I'm free hitting in 32. I've already made my transfer this week, so I don't want a -4. So I'll be holding Luke Shaw until he bounces back into my team in 33. And by that time, he should be ready. But I think that's Spurs away from Man United that week. So I'll happily bench Shaw again one more time in 33 if I have to. And then I'll play him, obviously, for the double in 34.
Mhm. Nice. Okay, let's go back to Grealish because that's the move you've already made. But I
Yeah.
want to know why you went for that move. And also, it is a really interesting point that you make because Grealish feasibly could come into your team, get 10 points, and still be a bad transfer if your first bench player gets more than 10 points.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
one of
that's so
those ones
true.
because you have such a
Yeah,
strong squad and you're going to be benching a player that's in good form. I mean, your eight attackers
yeah.
are all doing really well right now. It is slightly risky, but obviously the upside of Grealish is there against Leicester at home. So run us through. You've been tweeting. Run us through some of your thoughts
Yeah.
on Grealish. On paper, yeah, an obvious move, but
Mm.
Wes has some very good points to be made about why he's such a good transfer in this week.
Yeah. So I've been really enjoying watching Grealish since the World Cup. I think his very first game after the World Cup was possibly 2 assists away at Leeds. And yeah, ever since then he's played really well. I've kind of always avoided him because of being what we'd consider a rotation headache with Pep. But now in the last 11 Premier League games, he's played 90 minutes in 8 out of the 11. Sorry, but 7 out of the 11 are actually 90 minutes. One was like 88 minutes, which I'm kind of counting as a full game, of
Mm.
course. And then in the other 3, it was like 65 or 75, something
Still
like that. So
starting the
decent,
games, yeah.
yeah, starting the game and getting a decent amount of minutes. Um, so yeah, in terms of that sort of allays my rotation concerns. Yes, Pep, of course, could give him the occasional rest, but it's not like he is sharing game time on that left-hand side with anyone. He is the main man in that position right now. And I only see it as, okay, maybe he'll get the odd rest at some point and I'll have to suck it up. But going forward, he looks like a really good asset. Um, and yeah, he's just obviously kicked on massively. His stats from pre-World Cup compared to now are much better. He's getting more shots away in the box, more shots in total. Played well in the Champions League midweek as well. So Yeah, I was advising people on WhatsApp last week that if they couldn't afford Haaland in one move and they wanted to know how to get to Haaland from, say, a Tony or someone else, then the move they should be doing to maybe try and free up some money was something like a Maddison down to a Grealish to free up some money. Um, so yeah, and I think last week if I'd have needed the money, I'd have possibly looked at getting in Grealish to fund Haaland. So now I have an opportunity to do it for free. If Rashford didn't get injured, it was going to be a real struggle to actually get him in because
Yeah.
all my midfield have double game weeks later on in the season. I'd have had double United, double Brighton, who will obviously have doubles, and then Salah's got the double in 34. So I'd have probably had to go without Rashford's injury. So Rashford's injuries kind of gave me a nice excuse to get on Grealish for Leicester at home. Leicester obviously awful at the minute. And in terms of City's home forms, obviously amazing. City's collective team form has been amazing in recent weeks as well, scoring loads of goals. And in the next 4 game weeks, they've got 4 home fixtures because they're at home. Sorry, the next 4 fixtures if you're free hitting in 32. I should make that really clear, which I am. So for me, free hitting in 32, I get a home fixture this week against Leicester, then obviously free hit when City don't play. And then in 33, it's a home fixture versus Arsenal, of course, tough game, but it's a home fixture where City do really well. And then I can't remember the fixture off the top of my head.
Fulham away,
but then it's
Fulham away and West Ham at home in the double, which is a great couple. And then Leeds at home in 35. And I'm reading this off your Twitter, by the way. So,
exactly. So that is, like I said, if you are free hitting in 32, you're actually bringing in a player who's got a home fixture in each of the next 4 fixtures.
Yeah.
And then couple that with including a double game week. And then post game week 35, when it turns to a few more away fixtures, you've still got a double in there as well in 30, probably 36 or 37, isn't it? It's not quite confirmed yet. But my point is, there's going to be loads of double game weeks. City players are good to target for the double game weeks. Grealish is now nailed, whereas the likes of Foden's obviously injured. He might come back and scupper Grealish a little bit, but you've got obviously Mahrez and maybe Bernardo Silva sharing game time on the right. We've all got Haaland anyway. De Bruyne's quite expensive and harder to get to. So, even if I'd have probably gone Grealish anyway, even if they would have both cost the same amount of money this week. But, getting from Rashford to De Bruyne isn't really possible. So it was never really a consideration. So many things going in Grealish's favour. I'd say the only thing going against Grealish would be, like you said, I've got to now bench someone. So Grealish could score, get 7-8 points and it not work out, like you've already said. And the other downside for me is maybe this is a fixture, he played 90 minutes against Bayern Munich. Pep only made 1 sub against Bayern Munich as well, which I thought was really interesting. He only took off De Bruyne in about the 70th minute, roughly, for Alvarez and left on Grealish for the 90, like he's been doing in the Prem as well. So
yeah, I don't think that's an issue personally. I think that Tuesday, I also was a bit worried about that, but then, as you say, he's been playing every game anyway. He's in great form. He even looked like he might go off due to an injury, but there was not even any concern of let's be careful with him. Even when the game was won, it was just like he's playing unreal. Keep him on, and the turnaround time from that Tuesday game to the weekend is enough, I would say, to just say run up the same team.
Yeah, I think so as well. And then obviously they have got Bayern Munich obviously again in the midweek after. Some people are saying, Leicester's a good opportunity to rest players so that they can focus on.
Bayern's a good opportunity to rest players. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd agree, but I still think Pep will go pretty strong just in case, because you can never be sure. But with I think what people forget, and then I've been saying this on Twitter to people, and people have said, "Oh yeah, good point." Is City also need to win every Premier League game, which is why he played full strength away at Southampton, and he left Grealish on for 90 against Southampton, even when they were 4-0 up or whatever it was. So he wants to catch Arsenal and Arteta. He knows he needs to win probably every Premier League game. Maybe he can draw one, maybe. But he pretty much, actually Arsenal have dropped points now against Liverpool, but pretty much he needs to win every Premier League game. So he can't just be affording to just be like, it's only Leicester at home. I'm just going to bench our most informed player, Grealish, well, arguably alongside Haaland, etc., etc. But, a really good player at the minute for him to give him a rest when maybe he doesn't need one, because like you said, the turnaround time is fine. And he was a player used to playing a lot of games for Villa. He was a 90-minute man week in, week out for Villa back in the day. So I don't think he's the type of player who gets injured a lot and needs to be rested and stuff like that. So I think he'll be fine. Who knows with Pep? If he hints in his presser that he might rest certain players, then it sounds mad. But obviously I've done the move to sort of beat the price rise. But if I know he's going to be benched, I could move him to my bench, and then I've just got Grealish in
Yeah.
place for future game weeks.
And that's the thing, because exactly as you say, you've gone through the fixtures there. He looks, in theory, like even if Rashford was to come back, but we weren't too sure about his minutes and fitness, Grealish could easily just be a hold for the rest of the season. Like, you've made that move for the season now. Rashford could come back in for someone else, or not at all. But yeah, the thing with that move is that it looks really good for the rest of the season. So it's one of those that you can just leave now.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. And assuming there's no injury or he doesn't all of a sudden become a rotation concern, I do feel like Pep can burn us, because I remember getting voted in like game week 10 or something like that, when he was off the back of scoring hat tricks or whatever else. And then Pep just decides to not play him hardly ever in the Prem, like in the lead up to the World Cup. That was really frustrating as a Foden owner, because I was just so shocked to see Pep. We know he rotates, but to rotate someone in such good form was really frustrating. I guess he's done it a little bit to Mahrez as well at certain stages of the season. However, yeah, I just don't think you can play with too much fear. Like, what are we supposed to do? Just avoid City assets, because, De Bruyne gets rested occasionally. Haaland gets subbed off early to protect him. Are we just going to not go for these players with amazing fixtures, amazing form, scoring loads of goals, because they might get the occasional rest or the occasional early sub? So I don't think we can play with too much fear. Rashford's got the injury. Like I said, if Rashford didn't get injured, I'd possibly have to just suck it up and go without Grealish, I guess. But now he has. It's just a nice excuse for me to get him, keep him for the season. Like you said, I'm not planning on switching Grealish back to Rashford. Like you said, Rashford could maybe come in for someone else for the doubles later on in the season, should he be fit. But again, I might have to go without Rashford, or maybe a Bruno to Rashford later down in the season. But yeah, I can see myself holding Grealish for the rest of the season now, or at least for like the doubles, which is late on in the season. So yeah, pretty much the whole season.
I think this is the part of the season where Pep just says, okay, look, we just got to go into, like, it seems to me that City are now just in their kind of robot sort of mode.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're on it now. They're battering teams. They're playing really well. We always wondered when this might happen and whether it wouldn't happen this year, as we saw with that sort of rest year they took when Liverpool won the league. But it looks like they're just on it now. And I think I'm just showing on screen Grealish's lack of minutes in the Premier League at the start of the season. I think this is where those kind of weird rests that he just seems to give players for like a month kind of comes to fruition, because he tends to just pull players in and out of teams, especially wide players. The likes of Mahrez just will play 10 games in a row, then just be gone for no real reason. Yeah. And it's kind of now that you reap those rewards, because for Grealish, as you say, at Villa, he's playing 90 minutes every week, whereas at City, as you can see on screen, he's only played 1,700 minutes across the season in the Prem. It's actually not that much. By this stage of the season, normally, he'd be on 3,000, really, or close to it. You know? So he's still got a lot to go in the tank, and he's on fire right now.
Yeah, I agree. And he hasn't had like a really long, hard, grueling season by playing loads of minutes pre-World Cup. During the World Cup, he wasn't, I can't remember how many minutes he got for England, but I'm pretty sure he only came off the bench for England.
Yeah, he didn't start.
Yeah, so he only got maybe a few sub appearances there. So in terms of minutes played during that sort of World Cup winter break, wasn't very many. Came back refreshed, played a lot of games, and I'm not going to avoid. Sometimes I will avoid City assets, and for very good reason. The likes of Mahrez, the likes of a defender who might randomly get rotated, and that's a very wise thing to do. But when someone's in such red hot form as Grealish is, I want to take that gamble. If in the occasional game, maybe one of the double game week games, he starts one from the bench, fine, I'll take it. But like you said, for the rest of the season, there's 8 game weeks left now. I think for those 8 game weeks, he's a really good asset in all of them. Obviously for me, free hitting, I keep saying. So 7 of the game weeks, I suppose. But yeah, I think he's going to be a really good asset in all 7 of them. Maybe in one of those 7 game weeks, he starts from the bench. I'll take it on the chin.
Anyone else Sorry.
I was just going to say, whilst on the you was making a good point about City sort of being in their groove now.
Yeah.
And, like that. And I'm kind of changing. I want to talk to you about City defenders and sort of include Edison on that as well. Get your opinion. So
yeah, sure.
I was kind of, even as sort of last game week, I was kind of saying, you know what, I don't really fancy any of the City defenders. There's so many to choose from right now. They're all sort of fit and firing in terms of Diaz, Akanji, Aki, Stones are the sort of 4 who are playing a lot. Then you've got Laporte on the bench. You've got the youngster Rico Lewis. You've got Kyle Walker on the bench. I think maybe another defender. But basically what I'm saying is they've got 7 or 8 defenders who are kind of fit and all good players. So I was kind of thinking, you know what, I don't want to go there. But because of their fixtures, after the free hit, maybe I'll look at Chilwell, who doesn't have a double in 34 and costs similar to the sort of City defenders in 33/34. Chilwell to maybe a John Stones or a Diaz. And watching the Champions League game, I saw Ake, I think Grealish set him up with a back heel actually. Ake drive
Yeah.
into the box from open play, shot either on target or just went over, I can't remember now, but he was getting in the box having a shot. Diaz from maybe a corner had a decent chance. John Stones got the assist for Haaland, I think it was, by a header across goal. So what I'm getting at is if they are nailed on and they've got a bit of attacking threat, we've seen it in previous years. John Stones get big hauls in double game weeks. Diaz used to have a goal in back in the day. So what's your thoughts on City defence? I was very anti them. Now I'm warming up to them, and I'll definitely be researching them in 33/34 and maybe going there.
I think it's a really interesting one because I think there actually are quite a few options for that double in 34 and the rest of the season, because it's whether you're going to take multiple hits for that double. I would say for me, I think a City defender is a great pick in that week and for the rest of the season, no doubt. And I do actually think that right now, as I said before, like, the first 11 is pretty much the first 11. You're saying about Lewis and even Laporte, I just don't think they're close to that team right now. And yeah, obviously there is going to be some rotation, but you look at Stones, he looks completely nailed in that team. Walker, Pep has literally said that he can't play in that WM formation, that 3-2-2-3 box midfield that they're using right now. Stones is playing unbelievably well. His role in the Champions League game was really interesting. It seemed to almost bypass him in midfield, just kind of occupying space, but yeah, still playing brilliantly. One of his best games, no doubt. Yeah. I will say, though, you're sacrificing perhaps a Liverpool defender in 34. And obviously, we're jumping ahead right now. But if you had to choose between a Liverpool defender, the likes of Trent, Robbo, of course, in 34 for their great fixtures, or a City defender that isn't as nailed, I think that is the debate. Because for me, there's no doubt that if you can get the right City pick, and I think it's easier than it has been previously in the season, it's a good pick. But it's whether you go with a Liverpool defender or a City defender, or you take the hit and go for both.
I think it will be one or the other for me, so I can avoid a hit, because the -16 I did a couple of game weeks ago was basically to set up for all the doubles without the need for hits. Obviously, I won't be afraid to take a -4 if I think it can be really beneficial for my team, but I think I've got a few double game week defenders anyway, so I think it will be one or the other. I guess financially it's a little bit easier to get to a Stones rather than a Trent.
Yeah.
But I do think I'll be on Trent in the free hit, by the way, in 32.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'll be on Trent then. But yeah, 34, I think, like you said, I think at that point, we don't need to make that decision now, but it's good to have it in the back of your mind, because then over these next few weeks, you can, if you think, right, in 34, I'm going to want either, let's just say Stones or Trent. Over the next few weeks, you can kind of keep tabs on how Liverpool's defense, maybe they improve a bit defensively. Maybe Stones does become ultra nailed and blah, blah, blah. So you can kind of just keep tabs on those two. And then by the time game at 34 comes around, you're in a much better position. It makes an easy decision to then choose between them about who you want to go for at that point. But yeah, Trent in that double could be a really, really good option. I think it's 2 home fixtures for Liverpool. And even without the clean sheets, like we saw versus Arsenal, a really amazing assist for that equaliser, wasn't it? Nutmeg Zinchenko crossed it in. So he's always got that potential of getting points. Really good on bonus as well. So if Liverpool concede one, but Trent gets an assist, he's likely to get a couple of bonus points anyway.
But importantly, I don't believe that they're doubling in 37. I might have that wrong, but I don't think they're doubling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Liverpool's one double game week left this season is 34, whereas the likes of Brighton, Man United, and Man City will have more double game weeks, which again is a tick in the box for. It's not necessarily why you definitely have to go for them, but that would be a tick in Stones' box for that game week 34 transfer, for example, because you're buying yourself an extra double game week over the likes of Trent. Exactly. If you wish to do that, which was kind of my thinking. Again, not to keep banging on about my transfers from a couple of game weeks ago, but I thought about getting maybe Isak or Solanke, but again, at that point, because they both had a double, but one of the reasons for getting Isak was he had an extra double later on in the season. And one of the reasons I went for Salah over Maddison in that big hit. Maddison kind of looked like the better short-term pick with better fixtures, a better double. But Salah had the extra double in 34, whereas Maddison didn't. So I saved myself a future transfer by getting Salah earlier. And it's obviously worked out points-wise as well. So, yeah, I'm always looking to maximise doubles where I can, which is probably why I will end up on Stones rather than Trent, I guess. Could bite me. Obviously, Trent could go absolutely mental in that double, couldn't he? But I think I'll probably favour the extra doubles, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because also if you are a little bit worried about rotation, then the fact is they've got another actual just pure fixture over Trent as well. So even if they miss one, then you're not doing terribly there. Let's wrap up. Let's talk about this game week then, because I want to know your thoughts on captaincy. Is there anything in that? Any sort of debate there?
No, not for me. Again, unless Pep comes out and says that hints at massive rotation or something, I don't know, but I can't see any way. Or we get some sort of early team news leak from a trusted account or something.
Yeah.
Haaland's bench. But for me, yeah, it's Haaland. Some people will say, oh, I'm 20 points behind my mini league rival. I want to take a gamble. Fair enough. But no, it's not for me. I just want to maximize my points. I don't want to care about, I'm just outside the top 100K, for example. I want to jump into that. You could argue that I should take a bit of a gamble and try and catch those people up. But what if you go against Haaland and it goes the opposite way? It will just be a red arrow. So I'd rather make it the points with some other different players in my team. Not everybody in the top 100K has got Isak, for example, or whatever else. I won't be looking to make gains when Haaland is so good at home, and he has Leicester at home, who are they 19th in the league and possibly bottom of the form table, I'd guess, or there or thereabouts. We always think teams like Bournemouth at home is the best fixture of the season or whatever, but Bournemouth right now are playing better than Leicester. So for me, there's no debate. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree as well with what you're saying. I think one of the main fallacies that I think, I know I have, well, I don't want to say I don't have it anymore because I definitely do, but is thinking that if you are chasing, you need to go crazy with a differential in captaincy and just across your team and the transfer. But in reality, if you're gaining 10 points on your rivals in a given week, that is a lot. If you can do that back to back, then you're catching up at a rapid rate. You don't need to go crazy and search for like a 25, 30 point gain when you're putting yourself in such danger by not captaining the best captain. I got burned last week. I tried to be a little bit clever. Now, it didn't work for my team to really go for Haaland. I think I would have been sacrificing too much. But in retrospect, it would have been the best move just to get him in and captain him. I had my doubts about his injury and how many minutes he would play, and just how his form, just because I thought coming back from injury. But the man's a machine. I think you really, if you don't have him, I don't have him, and I'm going to be sacrificing Kane, I think, to get him back in, which is what I should have done last week. But it's got to be done.
It's a tough one for yourself as well. It could have been very different with Tony having 2 penalties.
Yeah,
usually that would be 2 goals.
Yeah.
I guess your captain last week was maybe Kane, was it? Or
well, I captained Rashford, and he had some chances, but
I
think captaincy is such a big thing, and that was just proved to me because I was doing the maths in my head, and because Rashford only got 6, Haaland only needed to get 1 goal, really, 8 or 9 points, and I would have made up the difference from what I chose to do. Yeah, I got unlucky with the Tony penalty miss, but he did get 2 penalties. That's quite lucky in itself. So
I suppose so.
And also, I got lucky with Matoma getting completely screwed by terrible decisions as well. So it swings around. A bit like what I would say, it swings around about for sure. Yeah, but I don't think you should be too hard. I don't think this week it is a no-brainer you have to have Haaland, you have to captain him, I'd say. Yeah. Whereas last week there was that doubt there about his minutes, which was kind of proven because he got subbed once the game was wrapped up on he scored that second goal. They took him straight off, didn't they? So there was justifiable. It was an away game as well, whereas Rashford had a really poor, played Everton at home, which was a good fixture. So there was more to. It could have worked out last week. Rashford could have definitely got more points than he did there. Whereas 3 big chances missed. But I'm not bitter. Yeah, no. So it was an unfortunate one that, and it could have been. You could have not had Haaland. Haaland could have got 13 points, fine, and you could have still been on the okay side of that as long as Rashford scores one of those chances. That's what I was thinking. And Tony doesn't miss a pen, so it's very fine margin. So I don't think it was a. And again, when I was advising people on WhatsApp, it wasn't like I was saying that you absolutely had to get Haaland. It did depend on your structure. I could get him. I saved enough money in the bank to go from Tony to Haaland. Yeah. So it kind of just made sense. And whatever Tony got, Tony was probably going to score, but I'll just take that on the chin and I'll get Haaland back in. Whereas if you didn't have as easy a route to Haaland, maybe it meant a -4 and maybe it meant removing Harry Kane, who obviously did well in his own right. So it wasn't as straightforward for everyone. So I don't think you made a mistake there. It just hasn't worked out points wise. The only reason why I would say in retrospect is that it was a mistake was because I should have thought a bit more long term, I think. And
because you knew you'd
especially in
want him.
terms of structure.
Yeah,
Kane, because Kane, apart from these 2 game weeks, the previous one and this one, you're not going to want him in your team long term. And I think, well, I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on general long term structure? Because right now you're in a 3-4-3, but you have those 8 attackers in place, and I presume at some point one of them will be getting dropped to fund something else. I mean, not necessarily. You already have Salah in place because of that hit.
Yeah.
Salah is someone that a lot of us will be looking to get in. Obviously, you said you wanted a bit more given that you got him in early for that hit. But yeah, general structure going after the free hit. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I quite like having, although it's, I know it's going to bite me on the backside at some point and things like that, but I do quite like having a swollen squad at the minute with that extra attacker. And in saying double game week 34, all 5 of my midfielders have doubles, whereas I think it's Isak and Watkins who don't.
Yeah.
So in the doubles, I'll probably switch to a 3-5. Well, I'll definitely play my double game week midfielders, and then it's just about which attacker to bench out of the single game. Obviously, I'll play Haaland as well, who has a double, and then I'll bench either Watkins or Isak, who are obviously great form in their own right. But in double game weeks, I'm going to have to bench single game week players, and if they score points, they score points. It's just one of those things. So yeah, I think going forward as a general structure, 3-5-2 could be good. I lost. So again, going back to the moves I did a couple of game weeks ago, I took out Kane for that -4 for Isaac. Kane's got more points than Isaac since then, but it allowed Saka to Salah, who that's worked out points wise. Should have been more, like I keep saying. But yeah, in general, my thought process with taking Kane out at that time was right. He's got Everton away. He'll probably score 1 goal. So I'm looking at a 6 to 9 pointer for Kane. But I was also hoping with Isaac with that double game week that he could score. And again, Isaac away at Brentford, I'd hoping that he'd score, and I knew Kane would score at home to. Well, I thought he'd score at home to Brighton. So my point was that Kane will keep ticking along, getting a goal per game week maybe. But yeah, he doesn't have any more double game weeks for the rest of the season. You're going to want Haaland for those double game weeks. Even Isaac's got a future double game week. At the time of making that transfer, Watkins was on a double game week. So I just didn't have a space for Harry Kane. Plus the money saved. Kane to Isaac saved me like 5 million or whatever it was. So Isaac doesn't have to match Kane's points really. If he can, great. But the money spent on the likes of Salah will hopefully reap rewards in itself. So I think it was never a case of I love Harry Kane as a player, as an FPL asset. I really wish I could have him in my team. I'm jealous every time he scores and he gets 3 bonus points just for scoring 1 goal. But yeah, he just didn't fit my structure, fit my strategy, and I have no regrets about taking him out. I don't even have any regrets about taking out someone like Martinelli. Martinelli smashed it since I took him out, but he doesn't fit my strategy. I'm wanting to attack double game weeks in the short term, which was double game week 29, and I wanted to attack double game weeks in 34, 37. So there just isn't a slot for an Arsenal midfielder. It wasn't me saying at the time that Saka and Martinelli are going to blank for the rest of the season. Of course they're not. They're amazing FPL assets, but the double game week players I brought in are good assets in their own right as well. And they've got double game weeks on top of that. So that was the thought process there, and I don't regret any of that for sure.
And in theory, well, I mean, according to some other guests that we have on the channel, the likes of Bakar and Abdul, you have right now the optimum 5 midfielders already. This is the midfield that a lot of people are saying they want to get to by 33, by 34. Pretty much your exact midfield, but you have it because of pre-planning and taking that hit. But you're set up now, which means you can focus your transfers on someone else. Maybe that is John Stones, and as you said, has done extremely well in the doubles before. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I don't envisage any transfers to my midfield, and again, the way I've set up, I was always going to be flexible in my game week 31 transfer. If nothing went wrong with my midfield, then I was probably going to hold it with Rashford, but something has gone wrong, which can happen. Yeah. So I've jumped onto Grealish. Maybe Bruno gets injured in the next couple of game weeks, and then in 34 I can maybe jump from, I'll save up 2 free transfers and be set up quite well without even needing them transfers, because my single game week players in 34 have it's like Newcastle at home to Southampton, I think. So I'll have the likes of Isak and Trippier to play. So yeah, I'll be looking to use my transfers to maybe put out some fires, or maybe bring in some extra double game week defenders like Stones, maybe a double game week forward if one emerges. But I don't think there's, the
I don't think there are any.
No, I think the 4 forwards that everyone's really choosing from is Watkins, Isak, Kane, and Haaland. It's 3 from those 4, isn't it? Maybe a Slanky, 100%. But even still.
No, yeah. you'd have to be looking at like a Nunes or a Jota or an Ings. That's the sort of level, and that I think is why the 3-5-2 will be the go-to formation, But yeah, as you say, you already set up. You have the flexibility. And there we go.
Yeah, and like I said, in the double game weeks, definitely get double game week 34. I will be on a 3-5-2 myself as well, and then I'll just have a really good forward, my first sub, who will inevitably get some points. But that's just one of those.
Well, there we go. Started with the -16 in a bit of a jokey way. I do want to say full respect to that tweet, by the way. It was a funny tweet. We both did enjoy it. It was a good tweet, and criticism is always welcomed. In fact, encouraged, because otherwise, how do you improve? I don't think you were bragging for what it's worth, but it was it was a valid tweet. I enjoyed it.
It was funny. It was very funny. The way it was worded was
exactly.
It did crack me up.
But we are now seeing the benefits of that -16 genuinely. With everything we've just spoken about, and the fact that you have a better team set up than pretty much any other team I've seen, to be fair.
Hopefully, yeah. And the thing about the -16 at that time was I'd never do it in a single game week. I'd very rarely take even a -4. But this was to cushion that, to pay for it. Those players had double game weeks at the time as well. So there were future transfers which would hopefully pay themselves off short term. So I don't have to take -4s, -8s in the weeks leading up, which I think other people will take -4s to get to a team similar to mine. So I think my thinking was, rather than taking 4 -4s spread out over the next 5-6 weeks, take it all now whilst those players are bringing in, have those doubles, and can hopefully pay me back. Didn't work out for all the transfers. Some did, some didn't. But I'm happy with the strategy. So but I will not be doing any more bragging on this channel.
It sounds a bit sneaky, right? And I hold my hands up here, but I do like a bit of chess. And this is a strange analogy, but go with me on this one. In chess, quite a big thing is tempo. So if you can make a move that forces your opponent to make a different move that they wouldn't have planned, or gets you ahead in some sort of form, it's not time in general, but tempo in terms of strategy and total moves. So we'll equate that to transfers. Then you can be in a much more beneficial position. And because you're already ahead in transfers now of people like me, you have Salah in place. The team looks good. Isak is in a good place. He has a double coming up, and you can bench him through 34 if you want, and then play him in that Brighton double. You have the advantage because you can jump on players that are in good form when others like me are perhaps chasing the players that you've already got. And I think that does all come down to that -16. So you reap the rewards of that -16 across the next 12 game weeks and when you played it, which is what you said at the time. So I've got to say fair play.
Yeah, exactly that. And what I'm hoping is maybe there will be someone who emerges in, like I've already said, I've got 5 double game with midfielders, but maybe, I don't know, maybe Bruno Fernandes just isn't looking very good or whatever.
Yeah.
But another midfielder that no one's even speaking about yet emerges as some sort of must-have pick. Then I'd be happy to take out a double game week player in 34 if I feel like I'm getting in a better double game week 34 asset. Whereas I don't think other people will have that luxury because they'll be having to use their transfers to improve other areas maybe. So yeah, hopefully it works out in the future, but we'll see.
I like the thinking of it anyway. For me, it does make perfect sense. Wes, thank you very much. That has been a good conversation. Really, really interested to get your thoughts, especially on criticism. And I, for one, really hope that the bragging does calm down over future game weeks, because I'm getting sick of it, my friend. I really am. So, all right, we're gonna get your team reveal up on the Hub website very shortly, of course. But what I am looking forward to even more than that is linked down below, of course. But you've made a transfer. Captain seems to be locked in. Obviously, news dependent. I'm looking forward to next week and seeing your free hit draft. 32 free hit is locked in, right?
Yeah, 32 free hits locked in for sure.
I know there was a little bit of debate for you personally about whether to go 34 or 32.
Yeah, no, our chat that we had maybe 3 or 4 game weeks ago about how you could jump back on the Arsenal assets at that point and stuff like that. And then when I looked at my team and about how I could build for double game weeks 34 and 37 by getting players I wanted in now, like the City players. So I don't think you really need, some people will be free hitting in 34, but I'm still confident in my game week 34 team will be able to compete with those who are free hitting in 34. I don't think I will be at a disadvantage. So yeah, the game week 32 free hit is absolutely locked in, and I've got way too many players blanking now. Grealish, Haaland, a couple of United players, Brighton players. So I absolutely have to. Yeah.
Well, I'm very interested to see how differential you go, or what your team's looking like. You've got good team value, so there could be some fun options in there that are outside the template. Who knows? That is all to come. Guys, good luck in this game week. Green arrows all round, I hope. And yeah, we will see you on the next one.